Hello, thank you for joining me this afternoon. I am Andy Schartzer, an Associate Solutions Engineer here at Nintex, and today I'm going to go over a brief solution that we've built out here in the Nintex Automation Cloud, or NAC, and this solution is geared toward a specific use case of a printing company has a form allowing customers to request printing equipment for rental. And what we're going to be seeing today is in the start event form, the customer will be able to select multiple devices. The form will automatically total up that cost using rules that utilize repeating data. And then the workflow will generate a document using that repeating data. We'll send the generated rental agreement off for signature from the customer using Nintex eSign, and then it will store that signed document in SharePoint all automatically. So that's a highlight of what we're going to be, or an overview of what we're going to be going over today. So to turn your attention to what we're looking at right now, we are in the Nintex Automation Cloud. We're looking right here at the workflow canvas. And what we have right here is the workflow kind of drawn out right here. And then we have the controls over here, or the actions on the left-hand side of the panel. And then when we click on those actions in the workflow canvas, then we can see this configuration panel come up on the right side here. And for whatever action that we choose on the canvas, then we see that configuration, that appropriate configuration comes up on the right side here. And just want to take this opportunity to highlight that what we see right here is the canvas in the center. On the left side, we have the action list, and then on the right side, we saw the configuration panel. This is truly illustrative of the no-code ability of the Nintex Automation Cloud platform, where if there is a step that you want to add to your workflow, it's simple as dragging and dropping that action step onto the workflow canvas. It's now part of the workflow. And when we configure it here on the right side with no coding required at all, filling out the task name in this instance, and then any other configurations that we might deem necessary. We'll go ahead and get rid of that for now. But this is our workflow here, and we'll look at the start event here to kick off that form that will allow customers to request the printing equipment for rental. So we'll look into the design form, and what that looks awfully familiar to is the workflow canvas. We're now in the form canvas right here. So also want to take the chance to show it is drag and drop here as well. We have a similar layout where on the left side, we now have the form controls that we can drag and drop into the form itself, should we want to incorporate those there. And then we click on them, and that similar configuration panel that we saw for the workflow actions now shows up for the form controls. If we want to get rid of that form control, we can just click that delete button right there. But also highlighting that we have the ability in NAC for forms to create different pages. So we have 3 different pages set up here for contact info, equipment details, and quote options. We configure those pages up here. If we want to add a new page, it's simple as clicking on add a new page right here. We don't need that for our instance or our case today, but our customers and other business organizations find this useful for really kind of categorizing or splitting up forms. So whoever the end user is for that form isn't overwhelmed with a huge page of data that they need to provide. And then being able to save maybe that form once a section is completed for the end user to come back later and fill out the rest of the form. So we have right here our equipment quote request, our different form controls. We have text short controls. We also have address controls, email controls with built-in data validation there. We have a phone request item here is as a text short control. And then we have here our second page, which is actual requests of the equipment to rent. So want to point out here, this is kind of the meat of the demonstration today. So in addition to these form controls such as barcode, button, long text, short text, we also have this repeating section control, which I've highlighted because it's already on the form right now. If we wanted to add another repeating section, we could go ahead and do that here and then drag on any additional data fields that we might want to include in that repeating section. But everything will be contained within that repeating section there. Just to demonstrate the drag and drop, I brought them onto the form, but we don't need those today. So we'll click on the repeating section that we have already. And we see here there's a option to request the equipment type. There are 4 options that we have here for the end user here. Again, no coding required to configure that. Units, which accepts a number, estimated monthly volume, and then the total volume here will be calculated automatically as a read-only control. And then we see here some additional options to choose. And then if we want to select additional equipment to request, we can hit that button down here, and then total units and monthly volume will, similar to total volume here, be automatically calculated as read-only form controls. And then going to the last page, we have options for the lease itself. So how long do we want the lease term to be? 36 up to 72 months. We can have the end user choose the monthly amount and the security deposit as well, just for cases of this demonstration here today. So that is an overview of the form and the drag and drop capability of form controls onto the form design canvas, exactly like we can do with workflow actions onto the workflow canvas itself. And then also, just before we move away from the form as well, in addition to the repeating section form control that we are highlighting here today, we can also establish some dynamic forms using form rules. So I'll show that when we get into the end user view of the form itself, but we see we have a few rules in place right here. So that is a quick look at the form itself and the designer. We will go back to the workflow itself, and then we're going to actually execute this workflow. So one way to do that, and where a lot of our customers and organizations find a lot of value too, is if it's still in development and they want to test out the workflow to make sure that it's doing everything it was designed to do, that our citizen developers intend it to do. Before publishing it and rolling out to the larger business, they'll do some workflow testing as well. So just being able to highlight that here, that's how we're going to execute our workflow today. We still have it, let's say, in development, and we want to make sure everything is working properly here. So we'll go into workflow testing, and we can see right here that we have the form ginned up, and we are going to go ahead and execute this workflow as the end user. So for sake of time, we'll just autofill all of the fields right here. I'll put in my email. And so we're executing and filling out this form. We finished page 1. I'm going now into that repeating section, showing the form and the workflow's ability to work with repeating data automatically, which saves our customers and business organizations tons of time, so that they don't have to worry about doing those tasks manually. So what equipment do we want to request? Well, let's say we need a color copier printer. We actually need 2 of those. You know what? It's going to be a pretty heavy workload, I think, on both of those. And then if I don't know what monthly volume is, there's this tooltip that we can configure in the form design to help the end user understand what is being requested in the input. So we know, okay, pages per unit every month. I think this is going to be a pretty heavy volume. Let's go ahead and put 1,000. We'll pick some additional features that I'd want to see on this color printer. And you know what? There's a few other things that I want to request. So let's go ahead and click on that additional equipment button. And we see that the repeating section comes in right when we click that. If we don't want it, we can hit, if we think we made a mistake, you know what, actually we only need one printer this month or one type of printer this month, we can go ahead and get rid of that additional equipment request. But we do need one. So we also need a black and white copier and printer. And you know what, I think we need 3 of those. I think the workload is going to be really heavy for these. So anticipating probably about 2,000 pages per unit for per month for the black and white laser printers. And let's say we need some additional paper trays and we need a high capacity paper supply because, man, these things are really going to be pumping out. And you know what? I think we also are going to need a color desktop laser printer as well. I think we'll just need one of these because just to supplement, if there is something, if these are computers are overworked, we'll just have this printer right here as backup. And when I mentioned earlier about the form rules and dynamic forms, or those rules being able to create dynamic forms, we see an example of that right here. If I select color multifunction copier printer, I'll see some additional input fields for monthly volume. If I select black and white, those will still be there. But if I select the color desktop or black and white printer, that monthly volume won't show up because it's not relevant to that kind of computer. So that is really valuable for a lot of our customers because, again, coming in with that ability to create dynamic forms, it only shows the end user the information that they need to see. So they're not overwhelmed. Let's go ahead and put, I originally wanted 1. I'm getting a little printer crazy. I put in 5, but let's have that also be able to scan to email. And then looking back over our form, we've requested 3 different kinds of units, and that form has automatically totaled up the sum of the units and the estimated monthly volume for each of those units too, if relevant. So we'll go ahead and get to page 3. And you know what? I think we're going to need these for a few years. So I think this is going to be a 5-year or 60-month term. Monthly amount, let's put in 2,000, and we'll put in a $1,000 security deposit, and then we'll go ahead and click request quote, and that will kick off the workflow here. And what we're going to see in a few seconds is that workflow right now. We see it, that workflow has started with that form submission, and we can see exactly which steps of the workflow are executing, when they're executing, and when they stop executing, and if they're completed or not. So if they're successfully getting executed, and if there hypothetically was a fail point at getting document templates, step 4, then it would say failed, and we could do some troubleshooting and try and debug, see maybe what might be happening with that step and how to fix it. So we see here that we've generated the lease number, created it, we generated the document as well. We've gotten the eSign action. So now we're at the get a signature step. So what this step is sending out the generated document for e-signature. And just to take a step back here and look at the workflow, when that start form was submitted, we did a few things like generate a unique lease number just for record keeping purposes. But we also, and to highlight the ability of NAC to generate documents, this is the generate document action. So being able to take an existing template and input Nintex document tags into the Word document, in this case, can also be done with PowerPoint or Excel. It can be done with repeating data at the row, table, or section level. We'll see row illustrated today, but inputting these document tags into the file and then having what that allows is the input, the data inputted will be automatically incorporated into that document. The document will be generated And then our further steps here are around getting a signature on the generated document. So if we go back to the workflow testing, we should be on get a signature right here. So we should be expecting, if we click on this step right here, we should see and expect that we'll get this signature in the signature request in email. And we see right here, there is a request to sign this document that has been generated. So let's go ahead and take a look at that document. And right here, we see the generated document. So this is the equipment lease agreement, and this is using all of the data that I inputted into the start form. So today's date, my name, the name of the lessor, and then just to highlight right here, all of this equipment that has been requested to be rented. These are exactly in line with the type of equipment and the quantity that I requested in that form earlier. So I requested 2 color multifunction copiers and printers, 3 black and whites, 1 color desktop laser printer. The lease term, I wanted that to be 5 years. It's automatically built into the contract here. Lease payments or rent of $2,000. The $1,000 security deposit is inputted right here, all automatically. And then so I'm able to start signing using Nintex eSign. I'll go ahead and assign my name as Sue. Adopt that signature. I'll go ahead and apply it. I will submit this generated document signed back to the printing company. And so I've successfully completed the signing process. I have the option to download that document right here. And we're able to see here that I've now completed that signing, and I can view the signed and completed document right here. So I can view that, re-download it if I want to for my records. And then we can take a look at the generated document, has everything that I requested, incorporates my signature right there, along with the date and timestamp. If we go back to the workflow, we'll see that once we've gotten the signed document, we're going to store that signed document. So for record keeping purposes, we're going to store that signed document in SharePoint. So if we go to the workflow testing, that should be, we got the signature, we got the signed document. So now storing that signed document should be the final step. We see that's been completed. So if we're storing that document in SharePoint, we'll go to our SharePoint site and we see it's been included right there automatically in the SharePoint site for record keeping purposes, signed with the date and timestamp and the proper equipment requests. So that's a short demonstration of the use case where an end user or a customer will have a form that allows their end users to request printing equipment for rental. And what this is a demonstration of is in a form, being able to select multiple devices or pieces of equipment, having the form total up the cost and quantity automatically with repeating data, workflow, then generating a document, incorporating that repeated data, and then sending the generated document off for signature using Nintex eSign, and then storing the signed document in SharePoint automatically. So I hope you enjoyed this quick demo today, and let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate your time. All right, thank you.